Hello and welcome to Procontation Point's video Snark. I read bad books so that you don't have to. I'm continuing my read-through of A Touch of Darkness by Scarlet St. Clair. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 21. And started writing the article with an apology, writing, I was wrong about the god of the underworld. I accuse him of carelessly engaging mortals in bargains that led to their deaths. What I have learned is that these contracts are far more complicated and the motives far more pure. Now that Persephone is caught up with concepts that most people figured out right away. As Persephone writes her article, she reflects at how bizarre it is that she's now holding Hades up as the golden standard of which all other gods should conduct themselves. She also wonders at what Hades saw inside of her that he wanted to change. However, when she tried to ask him about it, when Hades had returned to the underworld, he'd gathered her into his arms and taken her to bed, shattering all rational thoughts. As usual, the plot gets sidetracked because Hades wanted sexy times. As Persephone is making herself breakfast, Lexa comes home. Persephone has a brief thought that the two of them had spent their nights in a similar way. Lexa tells Persephone that everybody saw Hades and the mysterious woman in red leave together. Furthermore, nobody is that stupid. They know that first Persephone publicly called Hades out on not doing more to help people, and then Hades announced a charity in reaction towards the article. They put two and two together. Literally no thoughts are given about if Demeter might have also figured it out. Demeter is only a plot device to show up at inconvenient times in Persephone's life and then disappear. Considering how much Persephone worries about her mother locking her up again, outside of such moments Persephone doesn't give a hoot. Instead, in this book's usual fashion, literally all in any plot is set aside in favor of Hades being sexy. In the office, Adonis tries to talk with Persephone, but when she refuses, he tries to excuse his past behavior by claiming that he was drunk, which is not an excuse, and that he'd barely touched her. When Adonis goes on to try and ask if Persephone slept with Hades, Persephone finally snaps and calls Adonis out on his nonsense. She says that it doesn't matter what her relationship with Hades is. Adonis has proven over and over that he's a self-centered jerkwad. Hades had nothing to do with Persephone's rock-bottom opinion about Adonis. Oh, and that Adonis sexually assaulted Persephone, which she pointedly reminds him of. Immediately following this outburst, Dmitri calls Adonis into his office. A few minutes later, security guards show up and escort Adonis from the building. Dmitri calls Persephone in next and asks why she didn't tell him about Adonis's poor behavior. He continues on and says that stuff like that isn't okay. He asks if she wants to continue on and write the other articles about Hades. Persephone knows that she can't just leave Hades' reputation like that, so she tells Dmitri that she's going to finish the series as promised. Persephone goes to her classes where she finally feels her multiple nights of no sleep catching up to her. As she's leaving her class, a random girl comes up and asks if she's Persephone and gives her a gossip magazine. In it, the article talks about how Hades created the charity for the reporter. The girl goes on to ask if Persephone is dating Hades. Persephone asks if the girl is aware that the magazine is specifically a gossip magazine, and goes on to say that she doesn't find the gods doing just above the bare minimum to help people as romantic. She also says that she doesn't want Hades to like her, but to respect her. Persephone then leaves to go to a lunch with Sybil and Lexa, but as she's going, Hades teleports her away. He says that he has to go to a council on Olympus, but if he has his way, he shouldn't be gone for more than a day. Persephone briefly worries that there's a war and her mom will also get sucked into it. Hades goes on to tell Persephone that he created this charity for her because she told him that he could do better than only just helping those who think to come to him. Persephone then asks Hades to throw a ball for the souls in Asphodel, but to have it in his palace instead of in the town. He agrees to this before he leaves. Persephone then goes to her lunch. Sybil tells the others that Apollo asked her to be his lover, but she refused. Lexa doesn't seem to understand why anybody would reject a literal god, but now it's Persephone's turn to spell something out like Lexa's 5, that Apollo is well known for having multiple lovers, often all at once, that Sybil is right to refuse if she wants to just be number 1. Later, Persephone goes to the underworld where she first takes care of her garden before she goes to Hecate for the promised help in uncovering her powers. They're quick to discover that Persephone no longer instantly kills all plant life. However, that's about the only progress Persephone is able to make. Hecate has to remind her that these things take time and Persephone will get better with practice. Persephone then offloads on Hecate about how everybody seems to know about her relationship with Hades, which, honestly, if she didn't want for everybody to know, maybe she should have gone out of her way to not leave the ball with him. And my mother will never let me out of her sight again if she finds out. This is literally the first time Demeter has been mentioned this entire chapter. Hecate goes on to say that she's certain that there is a darkness inside of Persephone that must be addressed. Persephone acknowledges this darkness and thinks about all of the times that she's been rude towards others, but the problem is that we were never given a baseline to Persephone's normal behavior, so how were we supposed to know that her yelling at her mother's spy and being short with Minthy was anything out of the ordinary? Hecate asks when Persephone first sensed her own magic. When Persephone says that it was after she and Hades had first been together, Hecate says this: "I think perhaps the god of death has created life within you," which, to be continued, I guess? A note from the future. This was literally never brought up in chapter 22 and never even thought about, even in passing. And the book is running out of chapters too, so I don't know if or when this is even going to be brought back up anymore. Chapter 22. Hecate ushered her into another part of the palace to get ready. "Lord Hades has sent your gown. It's beautiful," she said. "Hecate, goddess of magic and spells, and the chambermaid of Persephone now, I guess." It's time for the underworld ball, and for some unholy reason, it's Hecate who helps Persephone get ready. Persephone also hasn't seen Hades since he left for Olympus, but he naturally shows up just as she finishes getting ready. He asks that she drop her glamour, which she does. They go down to the ball, where Persephone has to keep reminding herself that she's a goddess and she has nothing to be anxious about. She dances with some of the children, with Charon and then Hermes. While she's spinning around with Hermes, he pointedly tells her that she's in love with Hades, which... This is what we've come down to now, apparently. A third party needing to tell our main character that she's in love. After their dance, Hermes tells Persephone to go to Hades, which she does. "Are you displeased?" Oh my god, this is the second weirdly edited thing that I've noticed. What is going on here? I need to know if this was self-published or not. It literally comes up in Google's suggestion box when I started typing, and yes, she apparently did get her start self-publishing. As far as I can tell, this was picked up by somebody. I'm honestly not quite sure about that, but either way, this is so... Also, I tumbled down a rabbit hole, and a lot of people were complaining about a lot of other grammatical errors that I apparently missed. I probably did miss a few. I will admit that I'm a little used to overlooking the odd thing. I do read a lot of fanfic. But for multiple reviewers to point out how awful that the editing was... Anyway, Persephone asks that Hades wasn't happy, and he agrees that it's because he's not naked and in bed with her currently. As the two of them leave, everybody notices to the point where they are literally clapping and whistling. Jeez, it's like a wedding at this point, and I can't. The narration itself doesn't exactly help because there was never really a solid reason for them to have a party. They were just going to be throwing the party regardless, but Persephone moved it to the palace. "No, we have only two things in common." I feel like this is the ultimate summary of their relationship. They're really only together because they're attracted to one another, and that's literally it. They have no common interests. They don't have mutual friends. Heck, they're even at different points in their lives. Now, somebody might mention that Persephone is the one who challenged Hades to do more for the people he's helping, but at the same time, I can't help but remember Hades' own words to Persephone, that she never cared about any of that until Hades trapped her with the contract. Does Persephone care about people? The narration has literally gone out of its way to spell out to the readers that no, she does not. They make out for a little bit before Hades takes her to the balcony. There they watch 3 balls of fire go up and disappear. Hades says that it's the souls who are reincarnating. Their narration is really hung up over how magical that the entire thing is. Like Persephone and Hades aren't literal gods living in the underworld and partying with the dead. I swear that the further I get in this book, the stupider it gets. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to support me. The first is watching this video as well as all my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main Snarks, you can find even more Snark on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Plus, you also get early access to my main Tumblr Snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my Snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $3 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, $3 for every 5,000 words. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and now 2 full-length novels. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys.